Thank you, Francis, for your presentation. My question is centered on the difference between the wealth tax, because I didn't quite get the differentiation between the rating, which is charged by local authorities, and that which Simrise is now going to charge. And how, given the complexities that are involved in the valuation process as listed by the Urban Councils Act, where residential properties we are using the land method, not necessarily the improvements in terms of charging that. I think that is my question.
I think it will be very difficult for me to do that. I can only give you a personal view on it. Wealth tax, by that very name, it simply means you want to tax the wealth that you have. That's what basically it means. And my argument would be, property tax in the current setup is actually a wealth tax. Your rates and taxes are actually a wealth tax, because they are taxing on the wealth that you have. Somehow, somewhere, someone seems to think that wealth is a preserve of individuals, and it can only be manifested in homes or houses. But everyone is wealthy. And that's not the only definition of wealth. Actually, if you look globally, when they look at the richest men in the world, your Forbes and etc., they actually remove properties for the calculation of your wealth. They remove properties, they remove fixed assets. But somehow, somewhere, we seem to believe that because you've got 2 homes, you are wealthy. That's why I said there's a difference between being asset rich and cash rich. Because you could be asset rich, and then when the tax is now needed, you are unable to pay it. We still haven't seen the full process of how it's going to be done. Are they going to introduce a deferment of the tax? Are you going to defer this tax if I'm unable to pay it? Are you going to defer it until such time that I dispose my property? Then it becomes applicable. Can I roll over the tax effectively? Currently we've got a rollover system, isn't it? On principal homes. Can I roll over my tax on my second home on an annual basis and accumulate it and then pay it when I dispose? But the details of it are still sketchy. What we only got is that there's going to be, 5% tax on values of properties that are beyond 250,000. Is it? Am I getting correct? On second homes that are more than 250. Is that 2%? 1%. Sorry, I got that wrong. It's 1% on all second homes. So it's not second homes. It's actually on all homes that are not your principal dwelling home, isn't it? It's not the second home. It's on all houses that you own, which are not your principal dwelling house. 1% of the value, the market price of those homes. And homes are not purchased by anything other than the taxed income that is already being taxed. Because there's no tax incentive, or there's no tax law which says if you want to buy a house, then we exempt you from taxation or from tax. So you are taxed if you are an employee, you earn your salary, it's taxed, you pay your payee, and then if you accumulate that money and you go and buy houses, then they follow after the houses as well. Anyway, you guys can go and listen to the Beatles. Those that are old, there's a song which goes, the taxman. They tax you for everything. They say if it's If you have to walk, we'll tax the feet. If it's hot and you want to go in the shed, we'll tax for the shed. So they tax for everything. But it's a difficult tax. I don't know, maybe Zimmer will be able to unpack it. But what I can only say is that we already pay a wealth tax through rates anyway. And that is not discriminatory. Yes, it can be improved, but it's not discriminatory. If, for example, we then go back to the old system, where before the amendment of the Urban Councils Act, where all the properties were valued, irrespective of whether it's residential or non-residential, and then the tax is on the market value of those assets, it's non-discriminatory. So if I've got 10 houses, I'm still paying tax on the 10 houses. Anyway.
My brother Movingi.
Thank you. Thanks, Francis. I have two issues. I don't know whether they're questions or not, but the politics of your conclusions is an indictment to the local arrangement. All the conclusions, actually, an indictment. All those things don't exist. That's number one. From my own point of view, the conclusions, they are not yours. They are observations that we made. And most of the conclusions, we had 6, they don't fit our boxes. That's number one. Number two, you tax cash. And if you tax the value of the asset, you're like just making everyone poor. They will sell the assets in order to pay tax. And effectively, you are simply saying don't own a second property. Because if the rental income that is coming through the asset is not enough to pay the tax, where do you pay the tax for? You have to sell the asset. It's a conundrum. I don't know how it's going to be done, but at the moment, the framework and even the ground rules don't exist. There's a lot of work to be done. And taxes are being paid anyway. Rates are based on the values of the properties, whether it's zones or whatever it is. They differ. The Budiriro and the Borodra are taxed different. So it's I don't know, but it's food for thought.
Yeah, it's interesting, Eddie, because that's basically what it is. And you take, for example, the UK. For all the wealth that they've got, you find your council tax is still based on 1991 values. Because it's a difficult exercise. It's a mammoth task to be doing this on a regular basis. And they also, this bending or these zones that we have adopted, it was not, we didn't invent that. We actually took it from the UK. Because they also use bands. I think they've got up to G, A to G bands. And each band the properties are allocated to different bands because the bands are defined in terms of values. If you go on the Valuation Office Agency website, they actually give you the bands. For the UK and then for Wales, it's there. It's transparent. You know it. You see it, and you know the bands. And most people know. Most taxpayers know the value of their assets. Yes, there may be instances where you inflate your value because you're trying to sell, or you understate it because you don't want to pay more tax. But you generally have an idea of where your property stands. So you are able to actually see where your property is and what tax you are supposed to pay, your council tax. So it's so transparent that is easy for anyone to follow through. But even they failed to actually try to disaggregate, like we are trying to do. To disaggregate and now say, we look at the houses in Harare, there are 600,000 homes in Harare. Is it 200,000 that are second homes? And who has got the database to be able to split that? I'm pretty sure the municipality doesn't because they don't collect that information. The deeds office doesn't collect that information. They never ask you, are you buying the second home or the third home or fourth home? They don't ask you those questions. Unless you're gonna go into you go more like witch hunting. You're gonna go to the deeds office and extract a demovingi and say, how many properties does he have? And ask you now to declare which one is your principal home. But it becomes more complicated. That's all I can
My
say.
brother Francis, yeah, thanks for the efforts to decode